Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Connecticut at your service. My name is Carmen Nieves, and I am your host. And we come to you live each Tuesday right here on Soundview Community Media TV, where we feature business leaders that are not only running their business, serving the community, but finding a purpose in the way that they give back through their work. This month is National Women's Health Month. And we just got some stats because it's just, I believe the future is female. So it talked about that. It's only been since the 1980s where a bill was passed where there was Women's Week. Now it's Women's National Month. So it just talks about that. It's a national history that talks about that was passed in Congress to acknowledge Women's History Month. And the future, like I said, I believe is female. And it focuses on this year, the theme is women who advocate for equality, diversity, and inclusion. And I was saying to myself, if the theme is recognizing women throughout the country who understand that a positive future, we need to eliminate bias, discrimination entirely from our lives and institutions. We have to stand tall and stand strong in our own truth. And you can be who you want to be, live the lifestyle that you want to be. And I am so excited to have our guest that's on the show today. Her name is Linda Cicero, and Linda is a seasoned lifestyle and health coach, a leader for more than 20 years of diverse experience, going from promotions to entrepreneurship to working with big giants like WWE, CPG, Unilever, and Edgewell. From shaping campaigns to the marketing strategy to co-founding and pioneering the first ever, you hear that folks, right? The first ever hip hop and break dancing studio. So we're gonna talk about that, Linda, right here in Darien. Linda has honed in on a passion for innovation, growth, health, and community empowerment. Now as a certified women's health coach, educator, advocate, and founder of Life in Color. I want to welcome Linda to the show. Welcome, Linda. How are you?
Thank you so much, Carmen.
That was like a mouthful.
Yeah. It's such an honor to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
I know we talked a little bit about our business, but really what we like to celebrate on our show is the individual. So I want you to tell me a little bit about you.
Well, thank you.
Tell me a little bit about you.
So I'm Linda Cicero, and business aside, I'm an aunt of six wonderful nieces and nephews.
That's awesome.
Both of my parents are still living, and I love them very much. My family is my rock. And so aside from, the business and my family, outside of that, I am super passionate about just helping people feel good. That's what makes me feel the best. And, particularly when working with women, when working with, whether it's through coaching or whether it's a dance class that I'm teaching, there is something that is so special that happens when you see the weight of the world start to come off people's shoulders as they are doing something for them, moving their bodies, and also just taking control of their health and their vitality. That's really special, and I feel it's such an honor to just be a little piece of that in some people's lives.
And just being somebody they can talk to and be like, this is what's happening, I want to be better in my life, my mind, my health, my spirit, all those things. So tell me a little bit about how you came up with the name Life in Color.
Yeah. So I believe that when you're living life in color, you are living life to the fullest. Color has such vibrancy. There's such an energy to color in and of itself. So how I came to it was I spent many years in corporate America, very lucky to have a career in promotions and marketing. I learned a tremendous amount. But for me, when I was looking around inside that cubicle, I was like, I don't know if this is it for me. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I was also very, blessed to start dancing. So I started dancing when I was 25 years old. I walked into a Fred Astaire dance studio. I started with ballroom.
Oh, nice.
And, I used to watch those PBS specials with my mom and just be enamored by the women, and they were just beautiful. And I was like, oh, I want to do that. So I worked up the courage to walk in one day, and I had my first lesson on the spot, and my life changed. And I share this because it came at a time where I was feeling, what am I going to do? I know I'm not super happy where I'm at. I don't know where I want to go, but I just had this little voice inside me that said, every time I drove by that studio, go inside, go inside, go inside. So I finally listened one day. I had my first lesson on the spot, and my life changed. I felt my soul just fill. That's the magic of, I think, dance and movement. It brought me back into my body, and because I spent a lot of years detached from my body in many ways, just disordered eating and things like that, where I think many women, I know many women have these types of battles within themselves, the comparison game, and I'm definitely someone that's dealt with that as well, lucky enough to kind of come on the other side of it, and now very much wanting to help other women do the same.
I love that. I was looking at your website that we put up a little bit earlier, but one of the things that your website said was, are you stuck in the yuck?
Yeah.
And I will tell you, women, we're all different. So what may feel like a yuck to you may not be a yuck to me, but women always feel like they can do better, they want more, and we don't often tell each other that we're enough, partly because other people maybe don't. And so tell me a little bit about your philosophy around getting out of that yuck.
Yeah. You're saying all the right things. So, yes, I think you nailed it. Your yuck is not my yuck. But I think one of the key pieces that really helps you identify what your yuck is actually slowing down enough to listen and to kind of connect with yourself. And, what I feel is happening, particularly overall for women, is many of us are stuck in this go mode. And it is a result of, kind of where we live in our lifestyle. So there's a portion of this that, we can't necessarily avoid. However, what I think we can do a better job of, and this is where, I really like helping women, is instituting those time periods. And that could be 10 minutes in the morning, or it could be a day, or maybe you need to take a month off. That's gonna vary person by person, but I think that it is the pausing to really ask yourself, hey, are you doing okay? Am I happy? What's working? What's not working? And how do I wanna be feeling? How do I wanna be feeling when I wake up in the morning? How do I wanna be feeling when I put my gym clothes on? Are you feeling that way? And if not, then there's a disconnect. And then you can start really navigating, okay, who can help me? Where do I need to go for the help? But ultimately, the empowerment comes because it's you. You are your healer. You are that person, but we all need help. But ultimately, that's what I love, seeing that transformation when a client goes from not understanding that it's them to fully embodying that empowering, oh my God, it's me. I have the power. I have the control.
That just start.
Yes.
Right? And I think you had nailed it right on the head when you said earlier that you kept questioning going to that studio. And I think, and I'll say this even for myself, like, we know what we should be doing.
Yeah.
We know. What happens is that there's this fear of not having something else in place before you make that move. We had a guest that was talking about New Year's resolutions and things like that, and they talked about that the average person starts a resolution or a goal 6 times. So you're not going to necessarily achieve it the first time. Like you might get up and today was a good day, but tomorrow I'm dying because I was dancing for like whatever. But I think the more that we stick with it and see it, and I think you said an important point of a lot of us know what we want, but we don't say what are our non-negotiables. Like this is 100% what I do not want. And we don't say that, and we just kind of go with it until something crashes. So I wanted to, you as somebody that is a lifestyle coach, because you do a lot more things than just like the talking about being healthy and things like that. You actually live that. So we have a little slide that talks about that. If someone is looking for just information or something like that, tell us a little bit about kind of what your service is. What are some of the ways that people can contact you for free, just to like, I just want some information. What are some of your services?
Yeah. So I offer a free 30-minute connection call, and that's really anybody's time that they can, talk to me about what it is that they're looking to maybe improve upon from a health perspective. And like you said, health is a full circle. We talk a lot about health through the lens of nutrition and fitness and things like that, but health is everything. Health is your finances, health is your career, health is your relationships. So, we start a lot of time with nutrition because there's actually a connection to that, to other points, but inevitably we always start to look at the full circle, right? So that 30-minute connection call is free, and that's anybody's time to just reach out and see, is this something that I want to be doing? And then from there, we can go into a one-on-one coaching relationship, and that can be anywhere from 3 months to 6 months, for however long you want it to be. And that's really based on what your goals are. And I work really specifically, depending on where, how that 30-minute connection call goes, I really want clients to define what health is for them.
A lot of people don't know that.
Right.
So on your website of services, I know that you do a blog. I saw some really awesome looking like recipes. Did you make those yourself?
I did not. Those are pulled from other, but I eat them.
I loved it. But we were talking earlier before the show that, that kind of what you envision is having like these conversations with women. So tell me a little bit about kind of where you're looking to go. I know that please make sure that you check out her website with all this information. She's got some really good information, her story, her services. I know that we'll talk a little bit about an event that she has coming up. So tell me a little bit about that. Like, what do you envision is happening next for Life in Color?
So I love talking with women. I love holding groups. I love running workshops. I love going to, corporate environments where there's women and I've lived that. I've lived that corporate life where you're trying to balance life, your job with your health, and it feels like this sometimes,
all the
right?
Time.
Exactly. So what are the very practical, simple things that, we can be doing in that, from that perspective, for that lifestyle, right? So, speaking to professional women, helping them through that lens, but then also just networking with women's groups. My goal is to hold as much space through workshops, through events, that I can, to just hear and help.
And find an accountability partner.
Exactly.
I think that the great thing, and we've talked about this on past shows, that the individuals that we bring on, we consider them as subject matter experts. I don't always, like somebody has a big degree. Tell me what you did that I can do. So that will help me. And I think that people get to a point that they say, I've counted on family and friends. I got to take it to the next level. And that's whatever that is. You want to change career, you want to lose weight, whatever it is, you need to kind of like have like a little plan. So I would love if you would share with us kind of like your top tips for helping somebody kind of like get out of the yuck.
Yeah. So number one, I think getting clear is really important. So going back to what we were talking about earlier, you got to really sit down with yourself and assess what's working and what's not working so that you can get really clear on what it is that you really want and what it is that you want to be feeling, right? And what does that definition of health look and feel like to you? That needs to become crystal clear, like almost like you can close your eyes and touch it. That's how clear it needs to become. And then from there, I like to start with the basics when it comes to, you know, nutrition. When it comes to health, I call it pace yourself. And this is really like low-hanging fruit that anybody can really focus on. So P stands for prioritize protein. So when you're building your meals, you want to think protein first, because that protein is going to help with satiation. It's going to turn on the hormones that shut off, you know, your hunger. It's good for, it's feeding your muscles. And women holistically don't get enough protein. The A stands for add healthy fats, also key for satiety. We need fat for hormone function. Fat is our friend. That was something that I battled with.
It's not my friend, but we're going to go with that.
We got to get to the right ones. The right ones
can be our friend. That's right.
But that was something that I battled with a long time, that fat-free revolution, and really, you know, it was not good for us.
We've got a call in, so I'm going to pause you right
let's
there.
Let's do it.
Welcome to Connecticut at your service. Do you have a question for our guest?
Hi, yes, I do. I was wondering, I know that we're talking about some things that might be good for women. Do you have any tips as well to kind of help the men in our lives?
Sure.
Good question.
Yeah. I would say that the tips that I'm sharing are on both sides, right? At the end of the day, we're all human. And men experience stressors and the world in different ways, but they still carry stress and they still struggle with the same similar challenges in terms of definitely from a food standpoint. So you want to get really clear. And then you want to prioritize your protein too. You need some healthy fat. You got to focus on your complex carbohydrates, right? If it comes in a box, chances are it's not the best thing. So then we have to really just think about what are the ingredients, right? So eliminating as much processed food as we can. And then the last one is eat in color. And that's where you get your fruits and your vegetables. And then the last thing is stress management. So those are my top three. And when it comes to stress management, at the end of the day, it's not about eliminating stress. That's unrealistic.
Yeah.
It's about really developing tools and strategies to help you cope with the stress that you are experiencing so that you become more resilient. And when those stressors start to happen, you're able to, whether it's breathing, whether it's tapping, whatever that works for you.
And that's good for men and women?
Good for men and women, yes.
That's awesome.
And then you just flip it around that much easier.
Caller, are you still on?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have another question? Did we answer it okay?
No, that was an awesome answer. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
And keep watching. I think that's awesome. So for men and women, I think part of that, because you were talking about the different foods that are definitely good and bad for you, and I think I had read somewhere that different makeup of your metabolism, like if you're prone to diabetes,
yes.
if you've got dialysis, like all those things kind of like factor in. So there isn't any cookie cut. But are there any of your favorite like resources that you tend to go to for really good like information?
So many, but I'll cull it down. Yes. So I will tell you that Dr. Mark Hyman, who is in the functional medicine space, he was one of my pivotal moments. He was a big game changer for me. I had the opportunity to sit in a seminar of his, and he changed my life. Any of his books are great. Kelly LeVeque is a wonderful nutritionist. She's out of California. I learn a lot from her. She specializes in blood sugar. And then there's two books in particularly for women. One is called In the Flow by Alyssa Vitti. That is all around your hormonal health, which is huge and very important. We don't learn a lot about.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that there were 4 phases of the menstrual cycle, so I was in my 30s. And I was like, what? How? Did I miss this day? And then
Don't have it.
Right. And then the last book is called Women, Food, and Hormones, and that's by Dr. Sarah Gottfried. And that is particularly good for women who are in the perimenopausal to menopausal space. She speaks a lot to that age group, and very specifically to what's going on hormonally.
And part of that, because I'm somebody that's on the go all the time.
Yep.
So everything that you said is the bad things that I do. And my husband's watching and he knows, so don't call in and say nothing. Part of that is that we're just on the go all the time. And it's like, this show comes on, in the evening. So we're probably getting dinner kind of like after that. And then in the morning, you're just so run down because there isn't, and I know all the diabetic things. It's like, don't do this, don't do that, don't eat after a certain time. But, I don't want to feel bad about it. So are there any tips about, and I know that you have an event, so I want to give some time to be able to say that, to have you talk a little bit about that. But what are some key things that will just, eating for sure and doing all that, but kind of what are a couple of things that make you feel better, just in general?
Simple things, really. I love going for walks, especially now that the weather's getting warmer. There is something, and in the morning when I get up, the first thing I do is I step outside. There is just something special about nature. It's we are animals, which we kind of forget about sometimes, but we're connected to what's going on within Mother Nature and the earth. And even just putting your feet on the ground in the morning, it's magic. There is true health benefit that comes from that. So nature for sure is my top. And then, having strong, good quality friendships and a community.
Absolutely.
And you don't need a lot. I think that there's a myth and a feeling like you need so many. Yes, for networking and businessing, I just made up a word. For business purposes, that's important. But when it comes down to like your core, you just need a good one or two. And if you have more than that, that's great.
And that understands you.
And, don't judge you, but also aren't afraid to be like, hey.
What you doing?
Exactly.
What you doing? Where you going?
Exactly.
Why you wearing that? And I tell people all the time that people come into our lives for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And I've got friends that we won't talk for months. And when I tell you that when we pick up the phone, it's like 2 hours like we never skipped. And I think kind of like we have to be okay with that. And I think the older we get, people have to understand that lives are busy. The things that kind of like turn me on is my grandchildren. I've got 6 and 1 in heaven. And it's when I tell you, my husband, if he was on the phone right now, he would tell you, sometimes I just got to look at their picture and start to feel better and remember why we do the things we do and be reminded of the good things instead of dwelling on the bad things. I mean, some people say, I don't have enough money. I'm like, it could be worse. You could have no money, or not have anybody where you can go and get a meal. So, and for those that are just watching, we're here with Linda Cicero, right? I wanted to make sure that I got that right. And she's a lifestyle and health coach, and she helps individuals with making transformations to take a look at kind of how you eat, what are the things that you do, and she has a long career of empowering and promoting women. But I know that you have an event coming up, so I wanted to give you a space to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's on March 23rd. It's at Pause and Purpose in Westport, Connecticut, and it's actually it's a combination workshop. It's going to be desire mapping and sound healing. And desire mapping is actually a process that I did in full last January. I think is last January. I'm losing my years right now, but about a year ago, and it changed my life. And that process is how I got super clear for myself again.
What is that, like fasting or yoga? What is it?
It's actually a goal setting process.
Okay.
But it was created by Danielle Laporte. She's up in Canada, and she calls it Creating Goals with Soul. And what she has done is, instead of focusing on the goal or the outcome first, let's get really clear on how we want to feel in these 5 core areas of life that she defines. And the reason is because when you think about it, that goal, that outcome, it's not necessarily about that. It's that feeling that you want from that goal and outcome. So let's get really, really clear on how we want to be feeling in our 5 core areas of our life. And then as you start to do the process, you start to see synchronicities, and you pull out what you call like your core desired feelings, and they become your North Star. And then let's talk about what are those big wins that you want to really aim for, and do they align? so that you're really now living from a much higher purpose, and you're in line with your, not only how you want to feel, but your, like, what you value. And I think that I'll tell you, for myself, that was missing for a long time in my life. And now, having done it, it just was almost like the last step of, not the last step, we're never really done, but a big step of pulling it all together.
Your affirmation, like what you, and we know, and I can't speak for everybody, but a lot of my friends that we talk about it, it's like we know that something needs to change, but life happens, you know, things unexpected, life throws you a monkey wrench, and I agree, like, it just hit me when you said that what we're chasing is that feeling of the, you know, loving ourselves and then being a vehicle to how do we want other people to love us? How do I want to feel? How do I want to look? You know, how what yuck do I want to get away from?
Yeah.
You know, so we've talked a lot, and before we run out of time, so tell me what's next for, you know, Life in Color. What's next? What's next for you, and what's next for Life in Color?
Sure. So we're going to continue with one-on-one coaching. I'm going to be expanding into some group coaching opportunities in the future. I'm going to be doing more, doing more collaborations with some fellow coaches and practitioners in the area to bring more workshops together, more gatherings for women. And then I have another idea brewing in terms of, you know, around food and bringing women together around food and some good conversation, which I'm very, very much excited for. So good things coming, so stay tuned.
And I love that because we were talking about that before the show, that I think that there's some opportunity there to kind of do all of those things. So I wanted to just, again, so before I end, we talked a little bit about that, but who inspires you to keep going? I know that you love your nephews, but kind of like, who are those people in your life that are pulling for you so that you can continue to follow your North Star?
So many, but
people get emotional. I just want to let you know.
I wasn't expecting it. Okay. So I will say, you know, my mom.
I love that. What's her name?
Bertha. So
say hi to her, because she's probably going to watch this.
Hi, Mom. My mom, and really, you know, looking back at both my grandmothers, I think that they made a lot of sacrifice.
And they support you.
And they support me, and I just want to make sure that I can do as much as I can for them, in honor of them.
Honor them. And I'm sure that they love you and support you. So you know what? We're going to put up your ending slide. Tell people how they can contact you.
Yeah. So please head to my website. You can www.lifeincolor.online. And you can also email me, which is lindacicero@lifeincolor.online. And I'm also on Instagram @LindaCicero. And I'd love to connect and hear from you guys.
Any final thank yous?
Thank you to you.
Oh, no, I don't
and your team, to Terry. And I think every single individual, I think it all. I'm so grateful for all of it. I'm grateful for all the things that have gone wrong. I'm grateful for all the things that have gone right. I'm grateful for every single person that I've had the honor of sharing space with in a class that I've taught. I'm just so incredibly grateful for the journey, because the odds of being here are pretty small. Mm-hmm. So,
and that's a big tip, because if we live in gratitude, we can see the good in life.
Amen.
and pay attention to those signs. So listen, we are almost out of time. So I want to, again, Linda, thank you so much for being on the show, for sharing your insight, your expertise, and the way that you are helping to shape the world. So again, I want to say thank you to everyone that tuned in again this week. We want to make sure that you continue to watch us on Soundview Community Media TV. Follow us on YouTube. Make sure that if you are interested in having someone that you know that's making a difference in the community be on our show, make sure that you call in. Call or email us, and we'll be happy to feature them on Connecticut at your service. We'll see you next time.